Mr. Valentine, Part 6, a Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction. If you have not heard the previous 5 parts of this story, you can find a link to them in the description box below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and comment down below in support of more fanfiction. And if you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed. A few days passed by quickly, full of coffee shops, movie theaters, and long walks in the park. Marinette felt herself slipping into a fantasy, but with each day that passed, she found herself enjoying the facade less and less. Soon Adrien's smiles became painful to her, riddled into a lie. While she was happy they were getting closer and she was spending more time with him, each photograph she saw in a gossip magazine outline stabbed her heart. They had inside jokes, but they weren't because he liked her. Of course, she still secretly printed out each photo of them together she came across. She'd seen Cat Noir a few times as well. He hadn't given Marinette a house call, but Ladybug saw him for 4 Akuma fights. He seemed a bit on edge around her and didn't mention hanging out together after each battle, which was odd for him. Was he all talk, no action when it came to pursuing her? It wasn't that she wanted him to pursue her, but his lack of affection was a bit concerning. Soon it was February 7th, 1 week from Valentine's Day. 1 week from the end of his facade. Adrien assured her that the press would quickly forget about the whole thing, but Marinette wasn't too worried. Not much happened over the last week after some smaller gossip magazines talked about it, and no one seemed too curious about her.
"Hey, are you willing to join me for a work party?"
Adrien asked, catching her attention after class. Marinette didn't have to look to see Chloe blowing steam out of her ears at the question. While the class didn't know about the charade, the two of them never truly gave the "yes, we're dating" answer to any of them, so it looked like they were in courtship with one another. When?
February 14th.
So, like, your Valentine's date?
Something like that, yeah.
Huh.
What?
Oh, nothing.
You are okay with it, right?
His model smile faded as he asked the question, noticing her hesitation. How could she say, "How will we act after this is over?" to him without raising cause for concern? She would miss him. Even though she spent her nights heartbroken from this relationship, Marinette would hate to leave his side. February 15th would mean no more cafes and bookstores, no more movies and popcorn fights. She'd miss him even more than she did now. I just kind of wish I could be a Valentine's date for a guy who likes me for me, you know? She whispered.
Marinette,
he began. Adrien glanced over and saw Alia pretending not to listen in, and, in the other direction, Chloe staring the two of them down like cockroaches in the corner. He grabbed her books and gestured for her to follow him out of the room for privacy. "Trouble in paradise, am I right?" they heard Chloe call after them. The pair ignored her and took a few steps into the hallway. Adrien stuck one hand in the pocket of his jeans, facing her, and ran his fingers through his hair. He exhaled, long and slow, while staring at the ground. Marinette stood still, arms crossed and wishing she hadn't said anything earlier.
"I'm sorry."
She looked up to lock eyes with him. Both hands were in his pockets now, shoulders relaxed as he leaned backward slightly. As much as she appreciated his good looks, there were times when the distraction was cumbersome. "No, I'm sorry," she confessed. "I shouldn't have said that."
"No, I'm at fault. I'm sorry for making you uncomfortable." You're an awesome girl, Marinette, and I guess I've taken advantage of how nice you are.
If he had apologized to her in January, she would have blushed and made a fuss out of telling him that it was okay, but Marinette wasn't so sure anymore. It wasn't okay because she wasn't okay. I'm just scared.
Of the press?
Of February 15th. She saw something flicker in his eyes before he reached to touch her shoulder, but she brushed him away, choosing instead to make her exit. It wasn't like her to act that way towards Adrien Agreste, but she wasn't the same girl as last week's version of her. She'd grown over the last week, surprising even herself. Pretending to date wasn't the problem. Having her crush, her daydream, flirt with her and know it was fake was what hurt. Talking to him without knowing where she'd be a week from now took away her voice. She couldn't do this anymore. And yet she would. For one more week. She'd pretend to date Adrien Agreste for one more week. Thank you so much for listening. Part 7 is on its way. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more fanfiction. I'll catch you next time.